I am here today to give you the pros and cons and everything I've learned in the past few years about for sale by owner versus using a realtor to sell your house. I'm not here to try to convince you to sell it yourself or to use a realtor. I just want you to go into it educated, and knowing what I've found out over the past few years might help you make a decision, or at least you know a little bit more about what you're getting yourself into. My story is that 3 years ago we tried to sell our co-op in Brooklyn, and I was like, oh, I don't need a realtor. I'm savvy online and I know lots of people in Facebook groups and Zillow, and it's like fine, and who needs to waste $30,000 on commission to a realtor when I could do it myself? So I did some research. I learned how to make a listing on Zillow and get it through to all those free websites because they're free, and I created an open house sign-in sheet and you know, all the specs, and I did photos myself, and I thought they were pretty good and I felt really good about it. And then the weeks went by, 4 weeks to be exact, and nothing. I started realizing the downfalls of using Zillow and listing for sale by owner. And one is that when you're on a for sale by owner listing, or FSBO, FSBO as the insiders call it, typically a premier agent who is a realtor who's paying money to Zillow, they'll be listed as the first contact option. And then a couple other realtors will be listed, and then way down at the bottom it says contact owner. And so let me tell you, a lot of buyers don't realize this, and they just click contact or the first button or whatever, and they get in touch with a random realtor who doesn't know the seller, doesn't know the property, and they kind of have the option of saying, oh yeah, no, it's already been sold, but you know, I have some great other options for you. Just kind of screws you over. And a lot of realtors don't want to pay to play, and they're getting screwed over as well. So it's not just the sellers who are turning against Zillow and all those sites, but also a lot of realtors. So go at Zillow with a grain of salt, if you will. There are some other problems with it. One is that a lot of the listings are outdated, meaning it doesn't update the system frequently enough. So something could be under contract or already like completely sold, but it's still showing as for sale on Zillow. Also, some listings on Zillow are total scam. They maybe bring you in with a really great listing, and then when you contact them, they say it's already off the market, but I have some others. Or, you know, even scarier, there could be some really bad creeps out there who lure you to their home. So be careful. Some other points about for sale by owner that you should keep in mind. One is that your phone number and your home address are just out there for everyone. And I got spammed so bad by thirsty realtors. Basically, I don't know if they buy them or create them, but they get these lists of for sale by owners in their area. And they just sit there calling all of them again and again and again saying, hey, I saw you're for sale by owner. Oh yeah, I have some clients I'd love to show. And it's all fake. And then they finally get to the point of saying, you know, you should list with me. I'll sell it for higher and quicker and blah, 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 blah. And they just don't stop calling. Even after you take it off the market, they still calling saying, oh, you should relist with me. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, such a pain in the butt. Such a pain in the butt. So that is a negative. And if you are really gung-ho to list your house yourself, then I would suggest considering getting another phone number and email address just for listing, so that you're not spammed on your regular phone for the rest of time. Because they'll call, seriously, like 1 year, 2 years later, they keep you on their list to follow up. They're so thirsty, and I get it. It's how they make money, but oh my God, it's annoying. Another thing to watch out for, of course, if you're listing yourself, you're gonna be in charge of doing the showings and the open houses. And most people are legit home buyers looking to buy a house. They're just coming in to check it out but you never know when a creep is gonna come over to do something bad. It's dangerous, so consider that. Have a friend over or somebody to be with you during the open houses. And you know, you can also schedule showings, not do an open house, and that way you can have one party at a time and follow them around room to room to make sure they're not, like, you know, taking some underwear or setting up a camera somewhere. Another problem that I faced was I had 3 kids at home and a workaholic, never home husband. So when I was showing it myself, I had to schedule it around my husband's schedule so he could take the kids out of the house for a few hours. And then when he was at work and I had a realtor call for a quick showing, I had to just entrust them to show it themselves without me being home because I had to go take the kids. So that's another pro of using a realtor, because you don't have to deal with all that. They call and you're just like, okay, peace out. You clean up real quick, you take the kids out. My next tip goes whether you are for sale by owner or using a realtor, and this tip is that photography is key. You need great photos. You don't want to mislead people, but you want to show your home in its best light. And I'm talking bright, cheerful, decluttered. It's just got to be good. So you can try to do it yourself. And I'm on social media. I'm a blogger. I thought I knew, about photography. I'm going to show you here the pictures that I did versus the pictures the photographer that the realtor hired did. If you're for sale by owner, consider hiring a professional. And if you use a realtor, I think almost always, maybe always, the realtor or the agency covers the fee of the professional photographer. So this is a huge plus because you can get into the thousands with the pictures because you have to pay the photographer, and some of them take pretty major editing. In our case, it was like a really rainy, nasty day when they were scheduled to come, and they edited it so that it's like blue sky outside and really beautiful. And our first realtor, the one who failed us, or we failed each other basically, because we didn't listen to their suggestions. We were like, oh, it costs too much to put stuff in storage. We don't want to change out the windows, blah, blah, blah. Let's just sell it. And they were like, okay. And then we listed super high because they were confident and we were confident. And 9 months later, $70,000, we lowered it and we still didn't sell. That first photographer, they were big into virtual staging. So they did like professional photos of how it was, and then they also did virtually staged to show like how it could be with different decor. And some realtors even do it to show how it would look after a renovation. And so this is where it could be misleading because people are seeing these photos online, maybe not understanding that they're virtually staged, and then they get to your house and they're like, oh, what happened? Like, and then you don't want that feeling of when they get to the house and it's like total disappointment. You don't want that. So you want the photos to represent your house, just like really nicely done. So they make it look bright and airy and like that. So definitely professional photos, whether you're for sale by owner or using a realtor, professional photos are the way to go. Now here is my take on using a realtor. First of all, not all realtors are created equal. They have different experience. They have different expertise and design ideas, and they have different teams behind them and different firms with different budgets, and it's just like really tricky to find the right one for you because you got to find someone that you trust, that has a good handle on the market and has experience with your type of house in your area. So if you're selling a Brooklyn co-op like we did, you need to find someone who has a lot of Brooklyn co-op sales under their belt. Not someone who's, used to doing homes in Queens. They won't really know your area and that market specifically. Also have to be on the same page as far as how much they'll contact you. For example, do you want an update after every open house, knowing how many people came, how many people took an offering sheet and all this stuff? Or do you just want to know when you have a firm offer that needs to be countered? You should definitely meet with a few realtors to get their thoughts on your home and their plan for selling your home, what their marketing plan is, what their research shows as far as comps. That means comparable homes to yours that have sold recently, how much they sold for, how long they took to sell. Things like this are very important for understanding the market and how to list your house. So they should give you some ideas for a low, medium, and high listing price and you guys can agree on one. So for example, a low price would mean that it should sell very quickly. Maybe the first open house or the first week it's listed. The middle price should also go pretty quickly. It's hard to say, depending on the market. And the high listing price is kind of lofty dream price. If you get the right buyer at the right time, it might go for that. But in our case, the first time we listed way high, and we just every few weeks had to drop. And as I mentioned, by the end of the 9 months, we had come down 70,000. And at that point we were like, it's not worth it to sell. It's not even worth it. So we stopped, we gave up. We did some renovations through those 2 years of not being listed, and then we came back and found a good realtor, and we listed at a good price, and she gave amazing insight and helped us so much. She really motivated us to get rid of tons. We put tons in storage. We decluttered. She had ideas for putting huge mirrors in front of the dining table and in the bedroom. They supposedly reflect from the windows and kind of give it an illusion of having more windows and more space and more light. She had flowers and paintings she brought over and loaned plants to us. I mean, it was just crazy. She was amazing. Her name's Juliet Panone, and she is a Corcoran licensed real estate salesperson. You can check her out. I'll link her below if you're in Brooklyn selling a co-op. She's your girl. The standard commission that a seller's realtor makes is about 5 or 6%. And this is not set in stone. You have the ability to negotiate this with your realtor. Basically, they are pretty bound to split that commission with the buyer's realtor if there is one. But if there isn't a buyer's realtor, then they get it all themselves. Well, they have to split it with if they have someone they're working with, their team, their agency. So that realtor that you're working with probably doesn't get even a majority of that commission, but they won't have to split it with another team anyway if there's no buyer's agent. So the first time around we negotiated, I think it was, we negotiated the realtor would get 4% if we sold it to someone without a buyer's agent, and they would get 5% if they had to split it with the buyer's agent. And the second time around, I think we were just like, we just left it at 5% flat. If you're buying, it's good to keep in mind that you probably will not save by not having a realtor unless you find a for sale by owner, in which case it's a good idea to have a really great lawyer and inspector to keep you from buying a lemon or a scam. As I mentioned, the seller is who pays the commission for the realtor, for both the seller's realtor and the buyer's realtor. So really, there's pretty much no reason to not have one. They will help you a lot. As far as staging, like, it's not just about putting cookies and flowers out. They can really help you. And even if you've moved already and let's say your house is completely empty, yes, you can show it like that, but you could also hire a staging team through the realtor or through yourself, and you can rent like furniture and furnishings to make it really homey and super trendy and eye-popping, and like whatever style you're going for, whatever market you're trying to reach, you can make it look really nice, and you can rent it probably by the week or the month or whatever. So consider that. If you are going to have an empty house, consider staging it fully furnished. If you still have all your stuff there, consider putting a lot into storage, because the less cluttered it is, the better. The less personal items and personal photographs you have, the better, because supposedly buyers want to go in there and picture their stuff and picture their family. And when your family pictures and toys and everything's everywhere, it's really hard to vision how big the room is and how it could look for them. So less is more in this case, and a good realtor will really help you with that, as Juliet did for us. When we listed before, we didn't really listen to the realtors because we were like, we don't want to put stuff in storage. What if we don't sell? We have to bring it all back and it costs all this money. And we were just like, meh, 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 meh. But the second time around, after having not sold, we were like, okay, we're gonna listen. We want to move this time no matter what. Like, as long as we can get a decent price, we're going. So we put everything in storage, and it just really, it was amazing the night and day effect it had on our place. Realtors are also very helpful in negotiating the price because they know the game and they know how to play it. So if someone's offer is way too low, you might just, you know, ignore it. Or you're gonna counter. But how do you counter? Do you counter like just above their offer? Do you counter just below your original price? Like, it's such a game, because if you don't counter enough, the buyer might just walk. So it was so hard for me like to do this, but a good realtor just knows what they're doing and will have really good advice and help you through the process. Although it's very frustrating because so many parties are involved. You're like, the buyer gives their offer to their realtor, who calls your realtor, who calls you, and then you discuss and you come up with a counter, and then it goes back to the other realtor, back to them, and it's like this back and forth that can take like days. Whereas if it was just you and the buyer directly, it would just be like, you know, a phone call and done. Realtors also have tons of great contacts that they can hook you up with. So you're gonna need an inspector if you're a buyer. You're gonna need a lawyer on either side. Depending on where you live. In New York, it's required to have a lawyer do the deal. So things like this I don't have a real estate lawyer, and Juliet did, and she got me in contact, and they just work together so often that he was able to offer us a deal. So, you know, they have these contacts, and if they use them over and over, they can start to get better deals with their clients and them. So it's a win-win. So there you have it. That is what I learned with doing our for sale by owner and using a realtor that we didn't really listen to, that maybe was a little too confident. And then finally using a realtor who we completely did everything they asked us to, even changing out light bulbs to be warmer. And like some of the things that they wanted to do, I was just like, this just seems like, what? How can this even have any impact? But as they mentioned, like every little thing you do has a tiny impact. And the more you do, the more of an impact it can have. So changing the light bulbs out and putting up like plants and decluttering and all this stuff really can have a great impact. And of course, those photos are so important. I hope you were able to learn something from this video. If you want to click the blog post, it's got all of this, but in writing, so it might be easier to go back to. That's linked below. And you can also comment and ask questions over on the blog, because our comments are turned off here on YouTube. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos from us, our family in Hudson Valley. We moved from New York to here in July. Loving it. We do a lot of family-friendly product reviews and travel reviews. Bye, guys.